Welcome back, crafty friends. It's Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel, and as I mentioned in my video the other day, I'm going to be celebrating World Cardmaking Day this weekend by bringing you, hopefully, quite a few videos that share quick and easy cards that you can make for this day to celebrate it, or heck, if you're watching it after World Cardmaking Day, you can make these any day and they're quick and easy. For my first video, I'm going to be using a Perfect Autumn from Echo Park Paper Company, and this was designed by Lori Whitlock. I picked this up a few weeks ago at a local scrapbooking store. You have seen me create kind of mass-produce cards using sheets like this before. I do really like to do that because you can get a lot done in a little bit of time, and it's pretty much all done for you when you have these cut-apart cards. So that's what I'm going to do for today's video. I hope by the end of this video that I will have 12 cards that I can give out to friends or family for the fall season. Besides the papers that you see in front of you, I'm also going to be using some vellum and a natural ice cardstock. It is between white and ivory, and those will be what I'm using for the card bases. As usual, when I go to create cards like this, I'm going to try to do all of my cutting first. So I will start by cutting these cards so they bleed, which may not be exactly 3 by 4. And then for my pattern papers, I'm going to cut them to 4 by 5 1/4. And for my solids, I'm going to cut these to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. When I cut my pattern papers, like I said, I'm going to be cutting these to 4 by 5 1/4. I am going to cut 2 so the pattern is horizontal and 2 so it is vertical. That way, when I decide on which card I'm going to put on the front, I will have a pattern that would fit either way for that. These papers are double-sided, so I will have a choice later to use the front or the back side of this. Make sure to save these scraps because I'm going to have more cards I can make later with this. And now it is time to cut the solid colored papers. Again, these have a color on both sides. I'm going to cut these into 4 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces. Next up, I'm going to cut my 6 pieces of off-white cardstock in half to be top fold cards. So I will cut this at 4 1/4 inches wide. And then later I will fold each of these. For the vellum, since I'm not 100% how I'm going to use it right now, I'm going to cut 2-inch wide strips from just one piece of 8.5 by 11. And the reason is I am thinking about using my Stampin' Up! Triple Banner Punch to punch fishtails in the end of the vellum. So for now, I'm just going to try that, and I might change it up later. What I'm going to do now is go and pair my focal point or my sentiment cards with a pattern paper background and then a colored paper mat for the card. I just try to pick something that I think might look good. So since this one has a faux wood background or a wood grain background, I would not then pick the fox background, which has that same thing. It's just kind of too much right there. So I think I'll stick with this for the Autumn Days Are Here Again card, and now I'll go ahead and pair up the rest of these with some background papers. While I was off camera, I did play around with some of those vellum strips to see if they would work like I wanted them to work behind the sentiment card, but I didn't really care for that. So what I decided to do is I cut down vellum to 3.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to mat the sentiment card with that. And what this does, it helps the sentiment card stick out from the background, and it also kind of mutes any pattern that's behind it. And again, I just think that helps the sentiment stick out. The first thing I'm going to do to start on these cards is go ahead and put the vellum on the back of each of my focal cards. I'm going to be using my Scotch ATG for the adhesive. I'm just going to put strip along the outside 4 edges and center this on my vellum piece. On this last card, I accidentally cut the background paper too short, so I adjusted it a little bit. So now this piece is 4 by 5.25, and the pattern paper is 3.75 by 5. Because these are smaller, I didn't want my vellum to be quite as big or border the sentiment card too much, so I did cut this piece of vellum to 3.25 by 4.25. And you know what? Sometimes we just have to make it work. Like, it's not a big deal. I just adjusted it, and I still then have that 12th card. My next step is going to get the card bases ready along with the solid colored pattern paper and the pattern paper. And then what I'll do at the end, the sentiment card or the focal card will be put onto that with some foam tape to help bring that up off the card and give it a little dimension. So for this, I'm bringing back in those card bases that I cut earlier, and I'm just going to go ahead and fold the 12 of them. I'm going to hold off on the odd size one for now and show you how I'm going to do the standard or the regular size. The solid paper will go straight onto the card base, and it will cover the entire card front. The pattern paper, get some adhesive on all edges, and then centered on that solid colored paper. Just like that. And then, like I said, once I have all the card bases done, we'll go back and we'll adhere these to the card fronts. Now for the one that I cut just a little bit odd, the process is the same, but you will notice when I go to put this on the card base that you will still see some of that off-white cardstock around the edges since it's a little smaller. So slightly different there with these. And I will just continue that process for the rest of my pile. And now the next thing I need to do is adhere the focal points with my foam tape. I have talked about this before. I get these foam tape, they're kind of rectangles, at the Dollar Tree. You get this whole thing for $1 and I've used them lots and they seem to work very well. I really like how they're already pre-cut so I don't have to cut a lot of foam tape myself or with my scissors. All I'm going to do is on the back of this card, I will put 4 foam tape pieces. And I want to make sure that I get it behind the focal card and not where it's showing through the vellum. And the card gets centered right in the middle. So there I have one card done. I'm going to go ahead and continue with the rest of these. Now a card like this that does not have a sentiment on it, later I will go back in most likely and die cut a word or 2 words to put on the front of it. Like I have some that say grateful, blessed, thankful. I would probably do one of those words in a color that matches one of the colors in the pattern paper and just put it right here, just to add a sentiment and to get rid of some of that dark blank space. And voila, just like that, I have a set of 12 cards, quick, easy, using only a few pieces of pattern paper. And now these are ready to be sent out to friends and family, or maybe even given away as a set. Thank you for joining me today as I created these cards for you. If you enjoyed this video, as always, I appreciate a thumbs up. If this is your first time visiting my channel, and you would like to know when I upload more videos for this weekend as well as in the future, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button below and click on that little bell for notifications. If you're a regular viewer and subscriber, again, thank you for coming back. I appreciate each and every view that I get here on my channel. Now what I thought I would do as I close out the video is I will just show you what each card looks like, and I will be back soon with some more cards. I hope you're having a crafty day. Bye-bye.